Welcome back, everyone, to the Analyst Desk ahead of Misfits versus SK Gaming. The stakes are high and ready on the grill for this game as both teams are fighting for an edge in the race for playoffs. We cannot overstate how important this week is, specifically from this week on, for the race for playoffs, especially for the teams in the middle of the table. So let's start with SK Gaming, coming hot off a win yesterday versus Sjokz, looking to get the lead over the teams around them. But we wanted to look at specifically the SK versus Misfits draft last time and what we may expect this time around.
Yeah, so I took the time to rewatch this game last night because it was hard for me to place exactly what went wrong. And then I saw the draft and everything got a lot easier because this draft was really messy for Misfits. I think that they took a lot of risks and they gave up a lot of conventional power picks. And I don't expect to see them make the same mistakes today. But even outside of the draft, in-game we also saw a ton of execution errors. Jenax gets killed very early on in the game. You're like, HiRit, this is your time to shine. HiRit was our boy weeks 1, 2, and 3. We were all about him. But then his advantage never grew. Jenax held the line, and this is where we really got to see the SK bot lane absolutely pop off. His Vayne pick was very powerful.
So what's the lesson here for our draft kingdom master for Misfits? What should they draft and focus on?
It's a little bit difficult because I'm still a bit on the HiRit hype train.
Yep.
I think this player is so unbelievably good. Won the LFL Turkish League afterwards and then instantly went to LEC. So I don't know. I expect him to play really well. I would like to give him a champion where he has agency, like either in the early game to do something or mid game, so he can actually produce something for the team. And I think afterwards, yeah, in mid game carry, it's really important to give something to either the AD carry or mid lane. I think those are the people that are gonna pulse through. So I would kind of structure my draft around that. Use HiRit early game and then for mid game play around the mid lane and bot lane carry.
Yeah, because there are also good elements in there. Razork, for instance, a bit under the radar, but he's been doing great. Some maybe questionable moves in the early game sometimes, but he always has great damage output for his team and makes it work in the mid to late game. So the elements are there. We know that, but we're waiting for it to come together for Misfits.
We absolutely are, and I think it's kind of a sad case for Misfits because it feels like this team has never really been able to get consistently winning games. We've seen streaks from them, but we've never had a season where they've even gone 1-1 for the entire thing, right? So it's time really for Misfits to step up. They're really out of time to get their stuff together and to start finding wins because the playoffs race is definitely not in their favor right now.
Yeah, frustrating one for Misfits. On the other side, SK Gaming, I think we're all a bit on the SK hype train, those young players, and the bot lane, man, showing up. Jezu and Treatz, what a treat to watch.
Absolutely are. I mean, I love him. I can't talk about it enough. I think Treatz is so incredibly good, and everyone is talking about Treatz. It's easy to look at him, but I also think Jezu has very quietly become one of the top 80 carries that we are seeing in the league right now. Such a consistent performer, and when he plays things like Vayne against a draft like this, he's set up to have a highlight game, but even in the closer, more contentious games, we're still seeing these great moments from the SK bot lane.
Yeah, I mean, Treatz, he was ahead of the game. He was imported, and then he took the knowledge, and then he took the experience, and then he exported himself back to EU.
Bam.
He was ahead of the game, and now he's crushing it. And it's great to see because I love stories like this, all jokes aside, of players that try but fail or are not given the chances and then come back, start a new project, and put everything in it.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, it's a nice story about exporting and importing, but also it's a really hero story about, I think, same for Niski when he went over to NA and then came back. I didn't expect, honestly, I was thinking that the standings would be reversed, where SK is standing right now where Misfit is, and Misfit would be further ahead. Because they have the two veterans in the bot lane, honestly, I was expecting way more from the Misfit bot lane initially than from the SK bot lane. But SK has been performing really well, so props to them, and I'm happy, really happy that Treatz is performing so well.
Yeah, let's see what happens. Another pivotal matchup in week 5. Let's see who comes out on top.
Thank you very much, Sjokz. Our Poro friend is very happy to see you all.
That cupcake looks a little surprised too.
Yeah, just slightly.
Didn't know they were going to be on cam today.
It's a tongue rather, like, the problem, that's it sticking out his tongue, right, the Poro?
Yeah.
Because it looks a little bit like lips.
Yeah, like a really giant upside down lip.
Yep, it's a little bit odd.
Yeah, weird.
A little bit like us, I'm going to be honest. We're here for Misfits versus SK. Misfits, as Sheepy said, sitting a little bit lower than a lot of people would have expected them to in the standings. But we do have to remember, like, a lot of that team is still developing. You've got Razork, who's still relatively new. You've got Vetheo. You've got HiRit, both new players for this season. So they still have a lot of growth and development to do. And we'll see if they can do that in this game versus SK.
And what a matchup to get into. Jezu and Treatz versus Kobbe and VandeR. Two legends, two veterans. Let's get into the draft, baby. Welcome back to the draft, everyone. I wanted to try something a little bit new here today. These are going to be your lo-fi draft beats. We're going to keep the energy low here, keep it calm, and I want everyone to buckle in and have some fun. Take it away, Medic.
Chill vibes, that's all we're going to bring you today as we see the Twisted Fate banned away by Misfits. Udyr follows up from SK alongside a Zoe. Thresh has also been removed.
I think everyone's going to love the Zoe ban coming in here, moving that one from Vetheo. You remember back to his debut, looked absolutely on fire on that champion. A little bit of a rookie mid lane matchup here again today. Vetheo versus Blue. Two players we've seen some pretty big highs from, but haven't found that consistency yet. That's going to be another matchup we have to look at when we get into the game.
Always is, and then there's the Skana banned away from TynX, the junglers to play. I keep getting a little bit too excited by this.
Don't get excited, Medic.
I'm trying not to.
Keep it down, keep it quiet.
Lo-fi, keep it cool. We want the chill vibes and the Kai'Sa picks.
And the Rell picks.
Well, Kai'Sa bans is what I meant to say.
Kai'Sa got banned, Rell got locked in. Rell, of course, very strong support on the patch. We'll see what jungle picks come on through here. A lot of those farming junglers have been left open and available. Do we see something like an Olaf return here? Do we see something like a Nidalee a little bit later on? Regardless, both these teams looking for some scaling here. Azir in the mid lane.
Yeah, Blue with the priority on the
putting us to sleep.
Well, I think that might be more your voice than anything else that's putting us to sleep right now. And a good thing I grabbed my Red Bull and was ready to go. There is a little bit of anti-scaling though.
And you know what?
Strong early game.
With the Kalista locked in here, this may take us back to a little Kalista Jarvan in the bot lane, a matchup Jezu and Treatz piloted to a victory just a couple of weeks ago. SK Gaming, when their bot lane is on form, when they're on fire, when they're winning lane, they are looking good. And when Jezu is on a high agency AD carry, man looks unstoppable.
And the question is then for Misfits, how do they deal with that? They've already got the Rell, they're going to partner up with a Graves and a Syndra, farming jungler, very dominant mid laner here for Vetheo.
Yeah, and this combination here from Misfits, level 6, look towards mid lane, you got so much burst damage, the Graves ultimate, the Syndra of course as well, and very hard to itemize. You can't just go for like a verdant barrier, you can't go for armor, that's diversified mid jungle damage. You see on the other side, of course, a Lillia plus Azir, not quite the same, so maybe we see a verdant come through from our Syndra, maybe some Merc treads. Either way, gonna get the job done.
And as we jump into the second phase of picks and bans, what do we see on either side? We've got AD carry jungle mid on the side of SK, so they'll ban out some AD carries of their own.
Ooh, I like this. Removing some of the safer options here from the Misfits bot lane. No Xayah today. I wonder what else they take off the table here. Of course, Misfits could go ahead and ban the Jarvan themselves if they wanted to. If I'm SK, I think that's what I'd be eyeing, but by not picking that Jarvan early, they've certainly got some other options to fall back on.
I definitely think you're still eyeing the Alistar that we see banned away here by Misfits. Of course, Kalista, Alistar, a strong combination, and Alistar we've already seen very good into the Rell when played correctly. There's the Samira banned away from Kobbe, so he's falling down to that second tier of AD carries. Things like the Jhin immediately pop to mind.
I think a Jhin could fit in very nicely here. And as far as SK Gaming go, TynX has played his fair share of more interesting jungle picks. I think we'll all look back towards that. Dr. Mundo was a good time on that. I feel though, actually, what am I talking about? There's a Lillia locked in. I've chilled too far. I forgot that Lillia is a jungle champion. We're still looking for a top lane and a support here for SK Gaming.
Sometimes you just get so chilled that you get surprised.
I got lost in my own voice, but you know what I predicted right from the start? That's going to be that Jarvan support locked in here for Treatz, and let me tell you, that looked sick the last time we saw it.
Treatz generally has been the best support in the league at times, in my opinion, up there alongside Mickey and Hylissang. I think I would personally give it to Treatz in terms of how he performs for his team right now. In the current iteration of SK, Treatz is the biggest playmaker. Now Misfits have to find a way to deal with that playmaker. They'll pick the Gragas in the top lane, and we're still looking for that AD carry.
Yeah, Gragas does well in pretty much all his lanes up towards topside. Hard to find a matchup that completely shuts him down. Definitely a champion that usually plays weak side and allows the rest of the map to have a little more pressure. When you see a power duo locked in on the other side, definitely hints that Misfits might be looking towards bot early for some protection.
I totally agree with that. I'm wondering I was thinking maybe a Seraphine pick, and just because of the strength it can give you in the later game, because you have the Graves already as an AD carry, perhaps you can work just to facilitate him as the game goes on, but instead they go for something a little bit bit more aggressive in the form of this Tristana.
I really like the Tristana here. Of course, versus the Jarvan, you can still buffer your W there. You can get out of his Cataclysm. But then when you look later on, Tristana has really good actual dueling in the 1v1. She can pop her explosive charge down onto a Kalista and be all right, or simply knock her away. And then getting into the late game, scaling up with that huge range, you outrange a Kalista, you outrange an Azir, and even champions like Aatrox are going to be trying to jump onto you. There's not a whole lot of great answers here for SK to try and shut down this Tristana if she's allowed to get into the later stages.
As we get into the final few moments of this champion select, and let's have a look at the drafts in totality. You've got a strong mid-jungle duo on the side of Misfits Gaming when they get to the level 6 SK. A lot of scaling in the top side of the map, but that bottom side is looking pretty darn spicy.
Look, I think for SK, they're definitely going to need to unlock their bot lane. Bot lane's going to be very pivotal for SK. Jenax too should have a nice time up towards top. They're much more focused on mid-game skirmishing, whereas if we get to the later stages, Misfits are going to be looking real good. Again, no good answer into that Tristana, so Kobbe will be the late game hypercarry here for Misfits.
Well, fans out there in the internet world, buckle in. Keep your hands inside the cabin, undo your seatbelts, put them back on as we get ready for the second game of the day, Misfits Gaming versus SK. And onto the rift we go. Let's get out of this lo-fi thing.
Yeah,
I'm going to be honest, never listened to it. I've never listened to lo-fi music. You were just like, you just said let's do lo-fi before, and I was like, cool, we'll do lo-fi. What does that mean? And then you started off in this air stewardess voice, and I was like, cool, we're being air stewardesses. Let's go.
All right. Oh, man. Okay, well, we talked about in the draft the bot lane matchup, of course. You'll note double exhaust for the 280 carries. So exhausts and ignites, it is about to go down in the bot lane. It's going to be crazy, and I can't quite recall when they play or which team they SK played the Kalista Jarvan up against, though. But there was an early all-in 2v2. There were kills going their way, so definitely something Misfits have to look out for. Again, Tristana is no real slouch when it comes to early trading. People would be surprised because you definitely think of her as this hard-scaling champion, but if she's able to take a longer fight against you and fully stack up that explosive charge, reset her W even, that does a whole lot of damage at level 1. That can be quite some damage.
I can tell you which game they played it into, and it was against Mad Lions.
Oh, right.
Do you want to know what Mad Lions bot lane was?
0-10.
Tristana Rell, exactly.
Look at this, it's going down!
Here we go, going down in the bottom lane. Treatz ignited. Kobbe trying to put the damage down himself. Doesn't have a ward in the bush, but one more auto attack is enough. Jezu trying to trade in as Kobbe flashes away. VandeR remounts Kobbe. Oh. One auto from death, but the knock-up from VandeR, perfect to keep his AD carry alive.
That's madness, especially because, I mean, you look at it, First Blood went to the Tristana. Even with the First Blood, if Jezu gets that kill against the enemy ADC, well, he gets to continue farming, so it would still be a win there for SK. But like I was saying, it's going down to the bot lane. We have the exhaust, and level 1, Tristana still does a ton of damage. Was able to burst down Treatz, and that's the opposite of what SK needed to happen. This is bad news.
Definitely is. Jezu will have a little bit of time to farm up a wave here. Wave's going to push in. I think we'll see Kobbe losing one or two of these melee minions. Shouldn't lose too much more because he's on his way and VandeR is there to protect.
Can we go back to bot lane? Because I'm not sure they actually got the push in fast enough. Ooh. Yeah, he loses one minion. Okay, so he doesn't lose them into the turret, but still loses
one or two.
Yeah. I was just thinking because he didn't go into the tower.
You were just doubting.
But still, like, this is really not bad at all here for Kobbe. Now, the one thing to keep in mind is that literally every single summoner spell was used in the bottom lane. So while we do say that Misfits came out with an advantage from this play, there's still priority here. There's a level 3 Jezu to a level 1 Kobbe. They might want to dive a flashless Tristana.
Super dangerous, though, because you've got the Attract Repel. VandeR goes in. Look at the damage here as Kobbe gets knocked up. Attract Repel not even cast in time. Treatz tanks up the tower to start with. TynX is second up on the menu. He takes most of his HP just from turret shots there. And VandeR, this is a difficult situation to be in. Now remember, when he uses the crash down, he will get a shield. So if they dive him in perfectly, there's the shield. Treatz takes 2 autos, manages to survive. TynX flashes away, but he will die. Executed, though. And SK come out on top in the bottom lane.
That's exactly what SK needed to happen. Again, stacking up, crashing that gigantic wave. That's why they didn't push it into the tower fast enough. They knew that TynX was on the way. So huge play there from TynX to try and salvage this bottom lane, and immediately it is is back to SK, and they're winning by a mile because all 2-3 waves even got denied down bot lane.
500 gold ahead already on Jezu. He's going to be able to go back. We'll see what he picks up first. Do see a lot of double longsword boots there. You want that extra movement speed on Kalista. Of course, your passive works off your attack speed, and that extra movement speed just gets you into a little bit more of a advantageous situation. Across the rest of the map, though, Endo, we've seen Blue trading consistently with Vetheo. Veteo's already burnt his teleport, so has Blue. Both of them about even. Junglers about even. Razork has got a slight CS lead, as expected, because TynX went for that early game.
Look, top laners are just chilling for the time
just
being.
Ignore him.
Because they've got TPs ready. And pretty soon they're going to TP into bot lane. We're going to get some deep wards ready to go, come in behind, because still no flashes. Exhaustively coming back up soon, but those flashes will all be down. You can see Razork has to sit around bottom lane to make sure they can fully push that wave in, because with the advantage that Jezu now has, if Misfits ever push up the lane, well, Kalista, if you find a good engage with the Jarvan, she can just bounce off of those minions and chase you down the entire lane, and that is looking like a very easy way to find yet another kill onto Kobbe, who has recovered somewhat in the CS department, but Jezu still with a big, big lead.
Kobbe will have his exhaust back up on the next time they decide to fight, but Jezu...
It's so miserable.
Yeah, it's so difficult. Like, this is frozen in front of you. There's nothing Kobbe can really do. And we see why the SK bottom lane has started to be a name on everyone's lips, Ender.
Yeah, I mean, they've just been so good in the 2v2. That's why I was like surprised to see them lose that initial fight. It was just off by one auto attack, right? So very close on the damage calculation. But Razork going for the reset, it was hard to see because we didn't have the full vision of that bot lane, but he may have needed to stick around for a little while. And I don't know.
That blast cone was spotted. They spotted the blast cone getting popped, even if they didn't see.
Yeah, but the difference there is that unless you're actually like, you don't see that on the mini.
You have to actively
right?
look for it.
Yeah, exactly. They're paying enough respect though, because they know their jungler's not around in the area, so it's good either way. Do we get a little steal? Nope. Goes straight between those little raptors, so nothing doing there for TynX, but level 6s have come through from these mid lanes. Again, we are not looking at mid lane for action, I don't feel like. I did mention in draft, like at level 6, you have a ton of burst damage to try and hit someone like an Azir, so maybe that's something Misfits would like to do, but realistically, I'm still just going to be on teleport watch for the next couple minutes here.
Gotta be. Can I just ask the observers, can we have a look at how much gold Treatz has right now? Because he's only got a cloth armor. Okay, I'm pretty sure Treatz bought an amplifying tome, left base, and now, I mean, maybe I'm wrong, because I saw him buy an amplifying tome earlier, but he's only got a cloth armor and his quest item. So it feels like he's very short in terms of total gold.
He may have just ended up refunding it, but yeah.
He may have refunded it and bought a ward.
Of course, Treatz will be going for the Zhonya's Hourglass, which may look a little bit silly on the Jarvan, but it helps, because all you're trying to be on this champion is be a huge nuisance. And when you look at like Jarvan in like the jungle, or maybe even a top lane in years past, like you get the money to get tanky, and that's how you buy time, by like going for like a stone plate and really just being a nuisance. But as support Jarvan, you get to buy one item, if that. You know all about the support.
I mean, that's everything a support's going to buy anyway.
Exactly. So what's the best item for buying as much time as possible?
Stopwatch.
It's a stopwatch. There you go. And with his E-poke, it can help out a little bit there as well.
And of course, in Runes, you can get that commencing stopwatch, which helps you out just a little bit. I have done the maths because he bought a refillable potion. I didn't see that. That's where the extra gold has been made up. So he did buy an amp tome, refund it, and then went for the cloth armor first instead of the extra damage on his E from the amplifying tome.
Observers, can you show us bot lane? Yeah, pan us down here. Oh, the waves finally. Is it coming in? It's coming in. It's coming in, guys. We did it. Claps. Kobbe gets to farm again.
Yeah, I mean, he's only 17 CS down now.
He doesn't get to farm again.
Kobbe never gets to farm again. Kobbe down to half HP as soon as he joins the lane.
Yeah, but this is where it's actually bad news, because is the dive coming around? Again, the jungler from Misfits is top side, TynX is down bot side, and if SK slowed down the wave, they could just look for that repeat play. Both top laners still have TP to come down here if they want to make it happen. Again, Blue and TynX are both on the prowl, coming down towards bot.
Blue on his way. TynX looking for the swirl seed. Lands it onto VandeR. Lilting Lullaby coming out. Kobbe's already used the jump to get away. The shield on VandeR comes out. There's the knock-up. TP's coming in from Misfits, so they start to join the fight. Bait's call available for Treatz. They jump onto Kobbe, who's exhausted. Here's HiRit, though. A good cast back. Likes out. Jezu flashes over the body slam, and Jezu! Oh! My goodness, that was beautiful play from the rookie in the bot lane for SK. He dies in the end. But HiRit has to burn his flash. He gets a double! And HiRit manages to outplay SK.
And Veteo's on the way. Veteo's about to pick up another kill here. Treatz, he just has to go into the tower, give the... Wait, Gragas never hit him? That blows my mind. All right, good job, Treatz. It's just an execute for him. But The TP comes through from HiRit, it doesn't from Jenax. I'm left scratching my head there. Why did Aatrox not join the fray?
I mean, I look at it though, and Jezu outplayed the hell out of HiRit. He flashed away from the body slam, they had the kills, and then they were just, we need to see the replay again if we, like, at some point, because maybe they just overstepped a little bit. You can see though, Jezu now 4-1, Noon Quiver complete. Razork trying to gank the mid lane, but Blue can just flash away. Vetheo hasn't got the mana to follow up, and this is the SK that has played so well throughout the rest of this season.
Again, I love this play from SK coming down for the bot dive, but you'll notice both soul laners actually don't end up committing. Azir just warded, then comes bot. So we watch this dive. They try to time out the shield as best they can. That's good play from Misfits. I think maybe a little early on the Fate's call there to pull away the turret aggro. It means TynX does take some damage, and Jezu's so sick going over the Gragas combo there. I just love how they're baiting around the turret aggro here. It is near perfect. They just don't expect the flash, and HiRit with the outplay gets a double kill that very nearly was just a perfectly executed dive.
Very well played by HiRit in the end. I wonder, maybe just a little bit of greed from SK going for the final kill. They'd already used a lot of their cooldowns for the first couple, and of course HiRit level 8, 2-0 now on this Gragas. We see, as you say, Jenax didn't TP down. He's gone Merc Treads first, building up towards his first item. Misfits have already moved their bot lane up to top lane as Kobbe tries to trade into the Aatrox, who has to use the World Ender just to get himself away, perhaps worried that he'd have to burn a flash if he didn't invest his ultimate.
This is a necessary lane swap for Misfits. Again, they cannot enter the 2v2 down bot side. It is a giant gap between the two ADCs for the time being. So, come up top side, of course, Razork was doing the Herald while the whole bot lane dive shenanigan was going on. So Kobbe's going to get as many plates as he possibly can here. That will be the full turret and the first turret of the game here for Misfits with, of course, SK trading on the bot side.
And it's important that we see that gold swing on Kobbe as well. You can see he was like 1,000 gold behind. Now they're basically even. He is still very under-leveled, only level 6 to level 7 on Jezu, and I think Jezu is about to level up as well. But that's gold investment into Kobbe has totally changed this early game, because now it's basically even, whereas a couple of moments ago, Jezu was just going to destroy Misfits.
Yeah, completely critical. And again, when you look at these two compositions and how they want to play into each other, SK needed bot lane and top lane to be winning. Well, top lane is winning in CS. Maybe the kills go here its way, that's different. And bot lane is smashing, right? They did a great job building up that advantage. And now it's all about converting that into smart skirmishing. Good team fighting around objectives like this Ocean Drake in the next 10 to 15 minutes. Whereas Misfits, look, they have some good tools to fight as well, don't get me wrong, but Kobbe, realistically, when you get him the 3-4 items, he will be unstoppable fights.
Razork's going for this, flashes over the Emperor's Divide, and Blue has nowhere to go. Razork with a solo kill on the enemy mid.
The style ultimate right there from Razork doesn't even need to hit it. He's just going to auto-attack the Azir to death. That's a big one as well there for Misfits. Treatz now wants a piece.
Razork can just dash across the wall with a quick draw. And like, this is one thing, like Razork's very high level. He has farmed up pretty well here. He's got himself the Noon Quiver. Should have a first completed item on his next back, I believe. Just looking at his CS and the fact he got a kill. Treatz trying to work his way down towards the bottom lane, but Kobbe is here, has the exhaust. Treatz doesn't really have anywhere to go. EQ combo will be available for him. Kobbe takes the first tower shot to that explosive shot for the Buster shot, and Razork chasing in the base call. Turns it around, exhaust onto Razork, and in goes Treatz. Ignited, but the stopwatch will save him. And now Jenax invests the TP a little bit later than expected, but enough to get the kill.
Okay, but SK's bot lane is sick, Medic.
So
that
good.
Was so good. Treatz, he's like, come on, Jezu, get over here, use that ultimate. And then with the stopwatch to buy time, waste down off of, I believe that was an Ignite there placed by VandeR to keep himself alive. Beautifully done there, punishing the over-aggression by Misfits, trying to capitalize off that earlier kill.
And Misfits usually thrive in these skirmish-heavy games. They're just coming out a little bit the worse beware on some of these fights. We'll see now with the Gale Force complete on both Razork and Kobbe whether they can start winning these fights. Of course, we had a late first Dragon, so skirmishes around Drakes, around those objectives aren't as important as they usually would be. But I'm sure Misfits will want to get into the action because that's what they've been doing all season.
Treatz and TynX teaming up here. Can they find anything? Because again, this is exactly how SK want to play, getting into the enemy jungle. Kind of awkward there. Here it's doing Gromp Camp. SK don't even realize what's going down right underneath their noses. But you'll see with the bot lane rotating towards the top side as well, it's time for HiRit to play this weak side. Would be a wave crashing up for Jenax and HiRit, both in respective 1v3s on their own sides of the map. And with 30 seconds left on turret plates, we're just going to keep funneling gold into these two ADCs.
Importantly though, Kobbe is here first, and with the explosive charge can actually get through, I think, 2 of these plates before the timer elapses. We'll see Jezu get 1, perhaps they'll be able to get 2 here and match that gold out.
But like overall gold, I don't really care about. It's actually the individual gold for the ADCs, because Kobbe is going full solo, right? So yeah, you look at the gold between the two ADCs. Kobbe, can he get the turret? What? Place your bets. I think he gets it. I think he gets it. Show spalling. Oh, there's a mid fight. Okay.
There's a mid fight.
I understand.
He didn't get it as Blue tries to get across the wall, but is scattered back. And now the rest of Misfits are on their way. Blue, really nothing you can do in that situation. Tower goes down after the 14-minute mark for Kobbe.
I really like that macro decision-making, though, from Misfits, because both teams are doing the same thing. It's 3 people in one lane, you know, and then your solo laner starting trying to defend it off. And while SK, after they got the turret all reset, Misfits said, well, Kobbe can solo the tower, we're going to run mid. So not only does Kobbe get all the gold for himself, but they also then can make a play on the map, whereas SK were just going back for some simple items. So really nice move there from Misfits. I like that mid game.
And we have, as we get into the more open portion of the game as these towers fall under, we talked a lot about the AD carries. We knew that's where the action would be in the early game. We knew it would be bloodshed, it would be bloody. You can see that, like, it's a 5-1-1 Kalista, for goodness sake. But where is the next point of contention for these teams? Like, are we going to see them going for these big fights around Dragon? Do we need to keep our eyes on possible split push from one of these teams?
Yeah, well, I think for SK, yes, Dragons are going to be the natural focus for them, but also just working Treatz around the map. When Treatz is unlocked, that's where they're going to get kills. So it doesn't necessarily have to be for an objective or any large thing like this, but even playing off of the minion wave. There's no turret there for Misfits, so if Kobbe steps forward to CS, that is a window where Treatz can look to make a play. He then cuts through the enemy team's jungle, puts down all these wards, and again is next to Jezu to see can they get something done in the river. But I don't think they're going to be able to, because TynX, he's on the bottom side.
Won't be able to stop this Rift Herald going down. Razork with the second of the game here for Misfits. So eyes on Treatz for SK. Misfits seemingly happy just to farm up for themselves right now. Going to get into the mid lane and try and defend the push that is happening from Jezu. VandeR and Kobbe rotating over from bottom lane. Looks like Jezu will just back away. I want to just remind everyone, of course, of how these two teams are doing in terms of the standings. SK currently sitting at 5-5, could get themselves up to tie third place for the win today as Treatz dives in. VandeR caught out with the Cataclysm, and there's the kill onto Vetheo. Explosive cast comes back, and knock coming in from Treatz. Once again, he dives in. He's so low, though, and Razork with the Gale Force is going to be able to get a kill as Misfits try and turn this one around. Collateral damage. Not enough. Kobbe, though, going right onto the back line. Buster shot is not enough to kill off Blue. Yeah,
TynX solo, he has to go back to base. The Herald also from Misfits being placed in towards mid, because again, the Ocean Drake did just spawn up. So Misfits gonna walk that one into the mid lane. Then look for the objective, but Razork really doesn't want this trade now.
Oh, God. Razork gonna be pulled back with the Infernal Chains. There's the Emperor's Divide. HiRit tries to get onto the back line. Jezu exhausted as Kobbe dives in, but he's exhausted straight away. Both AD carries eliminated from the fight for just a second as the TP comes in from Vetheo. Misfits able to force SK away.
These fights are complete madness because it really is just an AD carry bloodbath between the two. They've got the damage, they've got the peel with the exhaust, using them on each other. It's just the question of who's feeling themselves, who wants to go in, because as soon as one ADC dies, so does the fight for that team. It really does feel like. We'll see the start to this once again, because I love it from Treatz playing in the fog of war. Vetheo realistically shouldn't be the one stepping forward to get the ward in the brush, so he's instantly going to get burst down off of the sleep there too. But HiRit with a great cast follow-up makes it all of a sudden this fight is very doable for Misfits. They have the AD carries that can try to chase down a lot of these kills. Unfortunately for Kobbe, he's just a little bit out of range, doesn't quite have the damage there on towards Blue either.
He was going for the double up there, though, with the Gale Force and the Buster shot at the same time. Couldn't quite land it. Kobbe is very strong, though. Storm Razor and Gale Force complete. You can look at Jezu, right? KDAs can be deceiving. Everyone out there in solo queue, just because you're at mid lane of 0-3 doesn't mean they are necessarily behind in gold, because both Jezu and Kobbe sitting on about the same amount of gold right now, both only on 2 items.
Yeah.
And, yeah, I mean, Kobbe's ahead.
Kobbe's ahead. That's unreal when you look at the KDAs. And again, I just think it comes down to how Misfits have been playing the map a little bit and making sure that Kobbe can always get these plates for himself. So really good stabilization from Misfits. And this is what we were expecting to see from Misfits bot lane. Kobbe, VandeR, they should be, you know, with the experience playing the map better than a lot of their opposition. But you look at their involvement in early kills, and it has been on the low side. So to see Kobbe as a focal point in this composition, especially scaling in towards the late game, this is the look from Misfits we've always wanted to see. The hope is it's not too late for them to turn it around and put themselves in a playoff position.
Currently sitting at 3 and 7, working their way up the leaderboard if they can. Baron not available yet, of course, because we're only 18.5 minutes into the game, but mid lane tower is still the major point of focus here for SK. Treatz, once again, the guy that we have to keep our eyes on for SK as they look to set up picks, is just waiting off towards the side, but will retreat as the rest of Misfits come into the mid lane just to force them away.
What do SK do next here, right? You'll notice 4 players all recalling at the same time, and that means SK are trying to get something done. That's the little cheat sheet right there. Of course, go back, get some wards, get some items, but just in general, syncing themselves so that they can make a play. Because SK know they're a bit on the clock. They need to play a little bit more proactively, and the way they're going to approach the map is interesting. Heading towards the top side of the map, not caring too much about bot side vision before the Infernal Drake does spawn. Of course, it does look like they do have a ward on Misfits' blue buff up towards the top side. So they're going to see Razork pop in that Squire's Bloom. Treatz is going to be seen too there, and they are just going to fan away. So maybe things do slow down for the time being, because it does look like Misfits have brought a few more members to that top river party.
And the question becomes for SK as well, like they got this early lead in the bottom lane, that's now been negated. And we wanted them to use their bot lane to unleash the rest of the map. But they haven't really been able to do that. Look at Jenax, yes, he's ahead in farm, but he's behind in kills over HiRit through 1, 2, and 1, hasn't really popped off yet on the Azir. And so SK now have to navigate these later fights with an AD carry that, after 3 items, only gets weaker in comparison to a Tristana.
Definitely true here, and critically, no flashes on either of these ADCs. It's about killing them, and Treatz, he always has an out card. That's the great thing. Even when he's in the Zonias, can still be pulled out of that one by Jezu. But losing that means you don't want to go in now, because if Treatz ever makes a play where the Fates Call is not ready to go, well, he's always going to die over the course of that play, making it 1-for-1 at best.
It's one of those issues with things like a Jarvan or an Alistair or even a Leona to some degree. If you're in, you're in. Like you're not getting out of that one. You don't have a dash. You don't really have a way to walk away.
But to the credit of an All-Star Leona, they have like an All-Star Ultimate Leona W, these huge
slightly
resistances.
tankier.
And now I don't know if you have much experience with Jarvan's E or with Jarvan's W, but
that's not
exactly on the same tier of those abilities.
I don't know what you mean. Look at it. So it goes poof, and then it's just...
That's why he has to build his Zonias, guys.
Sure.
Man needs saving.
Not tanky in any way, shape, or form. You can look at it like his health bar's barely even getting off to that second marker. As Jenax pushes out the bottom lane, he's going to work his way up towards mid. A minute on the Infernal Dragon. Both teams only sitting at 1 dragon apiece, so we're not looking at that soul soon. Seraph's now complete on HiRit. He's gone for that alongside the rocket.
It's AP Gragas. This is so sick, because again, what's Gragas trying to do in these fights? He doesn't need to be a giant meatball. He's trying to blow up Jezu, or even knock him away from the fight with the cask here. So I want to see how this rocket belt comes into play.
It does mean there were no meatballs.
Maybe a kill under the tower. I don't think Jezu can chase it down, though.
Galeforce going to get him away. Jenax looking for Vetheo here, puts the Infernal Chains down. Vetheo steps into the middle, flashes away. There's the Cataclysm from Treatz. Immediately uses the stopwatch. Here it's TPing in a Razork. Oh my goodness, he just burst. Treatz can do nothing. Jezu was not in range, didn't even have the face call, and here goes VandeR. Magna Cutter into the Attract Repel stun. Razork still on the chase. HiRit looking for a flank position. Has the flash, has the body slam, could go across the wall here, but Misfits.
Can they just do a Baron? No, they're not going to risk it on that again. They know they have the scaling, so let's slow it down. Let's move down for the Drake. A good counterattack there for Misfits, but honestly, we just said it. Treatz, if you go in and there's not a Fates Call, you're dead, son, and he's dead now, and that's not something we would expect to see from Treatz, especially on this Jarvan that he brought himself here to the LEC.
Second dragon of the game will be secured for Misfits. Once again, look at the gold, look at the scoreboard. Like, it is dead even. This game hangs on a knife edge. Any fight, it feels, could really swing it in either team's favor.
Now, please don't put the gold away, observers. I appreciate this, because I want to really hammer home. I've been saying the AD carries are all that matters. Look at the not gold difference between those two, but between Kobbe, Jezu, and then everyone else in the game. It's a 2K gold lead over anyone else. They've almost got an entire bonus item against all the other players. So
I mean, both supports have 50% of the gold of the AD carries.
Yeah, but no one cares about supports. Forget that. No, but seriously,
Justice.
like, it is Treatz trying to find Kobbe, and it is HiRit and VandeR trying to find Jezu. And whoever succeeds in that will win the fight every time.
The Assassination Squad, the Doom Patrol from either team looking to find these picks. VandeR knows that Treatz is in the area, saw That ward go down is now Blue's just going to clear out the mid lane. Later on today, of course, we have our match of the week, G2 versus Sjokz. We've got Rogue versus Vitality. We've got some popping games later today.
Yeah, but tell me what game 4 is.
Fnatic versus the other team.
Had to put you on the spot. I'm sorry, Benny. I'm sorry I had to do you like that.
Why? Why would you do that to me? Why would you do that to me? And I feel so mad. Fnatic mad.
There you go. Nailed it. That's a banger, actually.
That is a, yeah, we got some good games
That's
coming.
Sick.
This game is actually showing up as well where it counts. I love these games, Ender, where you have such a key focus. Such a, you're laughing at the fact you put me on the spot. Such a key focus. It's like, we know if Kobbe dies first, SK should win.
Yeah.
If Jezu dies first, Misfits should win. And it's so fun as a guy that's just like, hey, I'm support, I go in, I attack, to know who I have to attack.
And the solution, Misfits, they've said, we're going to use our items to make this work, right? Look at the burst damage. Gragas, Graves, Syndra. Like, if you put all your abilities on a Kalista, I don't care if she has a shield bow, she's even working on a GA now, it looks like, just to try and keep alive in these fights. Like, that is enough damage to get through 2 or 3 Kalistas, I think I'd say here. But it means that Misfits are very squishy themselves, very vulnerable as well to any sort of attack that SK put at them.
See, SK are the ones trying to set up Fate's Call. That's bad for SK. They're having to use that defensively. You get the collateral damage out, but that really doesn't matter. As we've said, Kobbe is the key, well, one of the key damage sources here for Misfits. So now Misfits can step forward because they got that Fate's Call out. They're so much safer to gain this vision control to advance their ward line here, Ender.
SK don't get to play the game for the next minute, right? Because again, Treatz is always going to be the one leading the charge into the fog of war, face checking brush, etc., etc. And Misfits themselves, again, don't feel super pressured. They've even done well in terms of the early Drakes off the back of a couple of good fights here. Got an Infernal coming up in 2 minutes, and everyone's flashes should be up for that. And it feels like one of those games where we're going to have like 1 or 2 explosive fights, and then the game's pretty much just going to end after that, right? Just because the nature of how these two compositions work, the fights are going to be crazy and very back and forth. So we'll see what they can pull off here. Jezu's going to be going and farming into a side lane. Again, just trying to funnel as much as he can on towards that Kalista. And he has that GA, like we pointed out there. So it's going to be much more difficult for Misfits to find that kill onto him through all these survivability tools, the flash and the exhaust on top.
You can see HiRit going for an Oblivion Orb for that Grievous Wounds on the Kalista as well. Of course, the Immortal Shield Bow giving you so much extra healing. As once again, it feels like Misfits are willing to cede control of this area. They're like, maybe they think they're behind, maybe they think they just don't quite have the damage or they're waiting for those spikes, but they are, every time SK step forward, Misfits back away, as opposed to Misfits trying to hold the line a little bit more.
Misfits are patient, and I think that's exactly the right approach to a game like this. You know, it doesn't really matter if SK just keep pushing in your side lanes. You just go collect the minions as they come into your towers. Don't need to overextend onto the map, because that's where Treatz will find you. That's where he'll punish you, but when he's going super deep in your jungle, all of a sudden you can turn it back around on him. SK now just playing for some mid lane wave control, but this isn't the wave that matters. The next wave is the one that will grant priority over that mid lane matchup right before the objective spawns.
Yeah, Infernal Drake up in 30 seconds. Misfits further along the Soul power site.
They do this fast. Kalista, Azir, the attack speed from a Jarvan flag.
They know it's happening now, though, and that's the important thing. They also know the Jenax is just off towards the top side of this fight. Oh, Treatz. Look at Treatz. He's got such a good flank position here, but Kobbe just bursts him out. Face Call comes out. Treatz uses the stopwatch. Exhaust onto Kobbe. Kobbe trying to get away, but he's already killed Treatz. Inside his teammate, Treatz is blown up. And the rest of SK have to run.
It's the AD carry matchup, and now Razork wants a piece.
We were talking about Kobbe, but another AD carry wants a piece of the action. Razork steps forward, VandeR dives in, and Jezu, no GA is going to save you now. Come back to the waiting arms of death as HiRit shuts him down.
Pop, pop, Misfits explode SK, and just like that, one team fight, and it's all Misfits. They're gonna go ahead, find themselves that Baron, and Kobbe, the man to be looking at, he just 1v2'd Treatz and Jezu. What's that?
Blown up inside the Fate's Call. Treatz unable to find any way into the fight. The Baron now picked up for Misfits, and their first real control of this game since that initial fight in bottom lane.
So this is what happens. Look, the explosive charge is on him. There's a Zhonya's that goes off, but the Zhonya's times out before the explosion. So it looks like Jezu just sort of pooped out Treatz and he died like that, but it really was that explosive charge on the inside.
It would be funny if Face called damage to you as well. And you can see here, like, Jezu's trying to do everything he can, but as soon as VandeR's in range to catch him with this Magnet Storm, it then becomes very difficult for Jezu to play the game in any way, shape, or form.
And all of a sudden that GA not looking like a great investment when you compare it to the Infinity Edge on Kobbe. And we're at the point, level 14 on that Tristana, pretty big range here. Where is the answer from SK's comp? I don't think there is one. Aatrox can't do anything. Jarvan, we saw it there, cannot do anything either. TynX even not super effective. So I think that Misfits had the answer in the draft and had the right man to do the job to make this one good for Misfits.
Of course, Tristana scales up as the game goes on. Draw a bead, extra range for every level she gets. It becomes harder and harder to get anywhere near that enemy AD carry. 9-7 is the scoreboard, 2,000 gold lead now for Misfits. Baron remains for the next minute and a half, and they are just using it to chunk away at these towers. Importantly, SK did get an Infernal, the Dragon, as the Baron was taken for Misfits, so Misfits aren't on a clock towards that Soul anymore, unless the game goes on for 15 minutes or so more.
All right, Theorycraft the fight for SK. How do they find Tristana? Flash and Exhaust up on her. They have an Azir wall we haven't really seen. Blue won't be too much of an impact in this game. Have to find Kobbe, but Kobbe's also the guy that has to step forward for the siege.
I mean, you're looking for a Blooming Burst, you're looking for a Lilting Lullaby, a sleep perhaps onto Kobbe, and then the rest of SK can dive in, but Misfits happy just to back away when the wave dies.
Patience.
And this is actually really good for Misfits, because
I agree.
patience is not a virtue.
Crit? Can we get a replay of how much damage that crit
We don't need a replay of the Scuttle Crab dying. We're not all junglers.
Dude, Kobbe almost just one-shot the crab.
Anyway, as I was saying, Misfits aren't a team that I think were synonymous with patience so far this season. They've been very skirmish heavy, very willing to take fights even when they haven't needed to. So to see that little bit more patience as we get towards the latter half of the season is a very good sight.
Well, we have done so. Oh. Okay, that was a lot of damage. Yeah. I couldn't read the number fast enough, but yeah, almost a one-shot. Thank you, observers. Thanks for listening to me and not Medic.
No, I just said we didn't.
Favoritism. That's favoritism. They like it more.
The observers are biased towards Ender. That's what we've learned.
Oh, man. Okay, Baron buff is timing at 3, 2, 1, gone. SK don't have much of an option. Realistically, now that the Baron's gone, the siege is less like 5 people from Misfits piling up on a tower. SK need to find Misfits in transition. Can they get a fight where it's not a 5v5 from the start? Can they find some sort of pick play with Treatz? But that's going to be very hard if Misfits continue to play as patiently and as precisely as they have been for the last 10-15 minutes.
It's just so difficult for SK to do anything. They're going to start losing vision control in their own jungle here. Treatz is in a good position to try and get onto VandeR, but you have no idea. Look at SK's vision. They have bot wave, they have a 1 ward in the bottom side jungle, and then 1 ward in the top side jungle. It's just nothing.
It is a bit of the weakness of the way that SK have drafted at times. You know, I think we did a segment yesterday looking at a lot of the drafts and wins from SK, and so often the burden of engage always falls on Treatz, and there aren't really other parties involved in that. So when Treatz is having a good game, it looks really good and he can find all these picks, but when he's struggling, well, who else is supposed to, you know, pick up the mantle here? What is an Aatrox supposed to do, charging at 3 ranged champions, a Tristana ult, and a Gragas ult? He's going to get knocked away if he tries to run in a straight line at Misfits. TynX can't really do anything else apart from some sort of like miracle multi-man sleep here, so it really does come down to Treatz and whether or not he can find that move, but Misfits have been so on point here in how they're trying to close the game.
Misfits just in such a strong position. 4 items now on Kobbe, rapid fire cannon complete. Misfits looking to join the middle of the pack once again, and SK struggling to find a way to get back in this game. Blue is level 17. He's 3 items. He's got a Void Staff. You've got level 15 on TynX. He's got 2 items as well, but it just feels so difficult for SK to be able to actually find any way to approach these fights. Blue continues to push in by himself. Misfits, all 5 members up in the top lane. Dragon up in 16 seconds. Kobbe's going to step forward, and that tower is donezo. Blue stopped his recall, now restarts it. The inhibitor's going to fall before he can get back, you have to believe, as Kobbe just needs a couple more auto attacks on it. Treatz and Jezu have a flank position. Where is Blue? He's got a TP available, goes to mid lane.
Okay, so interesting teleport there from Blue. They're actually going to try to blitz down mid lane. it seems. If Misfits commit onto the Drake, SK push down mid, this may be the final fight of the game here. SK look to be risking it all here in their last-ditch attempt at a team fight.
Here's a weird one to fight. Jenax off towards the top of it. Dragon down, secured by Razork. Here goes Jenax. World Ender knocked away. Blooming Burst lands onto Vetheo and he's dead, but Magnet Sword on the back line. Treatz trying to get onto Kobbe. Kobbe's still alive. Knocking as many people away as he can. He flashes away and he manages to get the GA out of Jezu. Kobbe survives. SK now 4 members strong, pushing forward, but HiRit dives onto the Kalista and takes him down. 3v3, but Kobbe is basically out of this fight. Stopwatch from HiRit dodges away from the Emperor's Divide, and SK have found the fight they were looking for. They managed to take down one more. Kobbe's going to retreat. Razork's going to get taken out as Jenax steps forward and swipes away at him with his massive sword.
It was a crucial sleep there from TynX onto the Misfits mid laner that meant they could come away with that victory in the fight. See that one more time. How is he actually able to make this work? Because it's very close, all things considered here. Yeah, the sleep also hits Kobbe on the back. Critical there too. Kobbe having to use the jump to get out of that one. Still Kobbe in the 1v3, just trapped inside the pit. He's still winning that play. Forces the GA out, but when he's on so low HP, when he doesn't have any targets to hit and lifesteal back up, well, there's not much he can do. He was trying to play in the fog of war here in the brush if the chase came through and TynX tried to push in towards Razork, but ultimately they didn't bite, so he wasn't able to get anything off of that. SK with a miracle fight to stay alive, but it does not get easier. Now the Baron's on the map.
Look at the damage HiRit put out in that fight. You talked about the burst potential of the AP Gragas. Well, it worked out. SK going to start up the Baron here. TP's coming in for Misfits, and Misfits are not willing to let SK get away with this. We talked about their patience earlier. Now it's a time for impatience. Now it's a time for a fight. HiRit stepping forward. Jenax tanking up the Baron. 7,000 HP on it. SK retreat. Baron resets.
We've been watching AD carry so much in this game. I want to watch HiRit in this fight. He has Flash Cask ready to go, and Jezu has no way to get out. Can HiRit find the one-shot? That's the man that's going to be flying in from Misfits. Baron down to 7,000 HP.
Where's Jenax? Jenax has gone back. Jenax has the TP in. He was
Baron's
looking to catch him
gone.
away, even the Baron is already gone. And now the sleep comes out. It's only gone on to HiRit. TynX stepping forward, but that lilting lullaby will not come back off. Oh, down! Goodbye, Jezu! Have a nice day as he gets destroyed. HiRit dives onto the back line, lands the cast, hits 2. Jenax trying to trade in, and you can actually see the damage that's coming out here. HiRit takes 1, Blue takes another. Jenax stepping forward in a 1v3. Jenax, the only player that stayed on SK this season, fights 3-1 and gets away with 2 kills.
There's still supers in the base. They lose both Nexus turrets off the play and the Baron, yet somehow SK are winning these team fights. It's absolutely unreal here. Even against an almost full build level 17 Tristana, SK 2 in a row now. How did it even happen? Because, I mean, at the start, the TP looks very late, right? You know, the sleep is almost wasted onto HiRit, but so much damage goes down onto the Kalista. Then Jenax comes flying on in here. And the triple Treatz engage. Yeah, that's going to do it there into the Jenax follow-up. The healing you get from hitting 3 targets as Aatrox, and the damage, that's out of, like, G2 World's nightmares. Yeah. That type of Aatrox DPS coming on in.
I mean, I remember when Jenax switched to top role and he was bodying fools on Aatrox, and you just get a little sight of how good he is.
I remember when Jenax was still a mid laner and he was bodying fools on Aatrox. That was his signature pick when he first joined the LEC, and made it look like a natural transition up into the top lane. He did the work of a top laner and an AD carry in that team fight.
And importantly, Misfits did the thing they have built for this entire game. Jezu, 0. No damage. Didn't get an opportunity to get a single auto attack out, but the rest of SK stepped up. The rest of SK were able to take the fight. And now with a minute left on the Infernal Dragon, that's soul for Misfits if they get it. Everything is on the line in this final fight. AD carries, let's look at it. Mercurial Scimitar now complete on Kobbe. A little bit of extra safety alongside that exhaust. Jezu, GA still a quarter of its cooldown left. HiRit.
Oh no.
Oh, TynX. He's got the move speed. He should be able to walk away from this one. Uses the sleep though.
He almost has to, otherwise HiRit can chase him down there with the cask and get something done. But how does Treatz find another miracle engage like that? Because you'd be hard-pressed to find better Jarvan ultimates than that. Triple lockdown on the backline setting up for your team. Yet still, you can't favor SK going into any of these team fights. They have had to execute so perfectly in the last 2 engagements just to come close. They've been able to win it. but it only becomes more and more challenging. Now backs against the wall, Infernal Soul up soon.
Importantly though, their inhibitor has respawned. That backdoor threat is gone. No, like we could have seen HiRit or Vetheo get into the back line and manage to get behind them. So SK now know they can take this fight. They don't have to worry about super minions. They can step into the bot side river, and that is where we're going. Treatz dives in onto Vetheo. The rest of SK not there to follow up. So what use? The face call comes out as well. In goes TynX, and look at the sleeves coming out. It's going to land on 3 members. TynX dives onto the backline once again. VandeR's already killed Jezu. But here comes HiRit. Kobbe's still alive. Opening up. HiRit pops the stopwatch. It's all on VandeR to try and get in, and he manages to keep Kobbe alive for the moment. Blue diving around. Kobbe trying to trade. Blue survives, and SK on the back of the wings of the world ender. Jenax gets the ace.
Jenax did it again, a triple A flawless game from Jenax, legendary in 38 minutes. They've got a minion wave in mid lane too. SK may have just won this game.
28 seconds on Razork, 24 on VandeR. Blue and Jenax will melt through these towers like a knife through butter, and SK may have done it. The entire game, they felt up against it. You can see just how much work went into this win, but Jenax put the team on his back, carried them through those late game fights, and SK will defeat Misfits.
What an unreal game. From level 1, it was a complete bloodbath. Everything going into bot lane. Even
look at their faces, look at how happy they are.
It's crazy because Jenax effectively was not a part of the game early on. Everything was about bot lane, yet in the crucial moments in the team fights that Misfits had all but wrapped up and ready to go take themselves a Nexus. Both Nexus turrets were down, mind you. Jenax in back-to-back team fights on Baron and on Infernal Soul stepped up and carried the game.
What a performance. And again, like, Misfits did almost everything right. Their patience in the mid game, their willingness just to wait it out. And then I said, like, it would take an SK player to really outperform, to really outplay in some of these team fights. Even coming into that final team fight, you were saying it felt like it was a hard team fight for SK to take, but Jenax stepped up. He is one of your nominees for Key Player of the Game at LEC on Twitter, alongside Jezu and Treatz. Honestly, kind of depends what portion of the game you look at. Treatz had a great early mid game. Jezu had a great early game. Jenax had a pog late game. It was incredible.
Seriously. For me, it has to be top lane in this one. It has to be Odoamne.
This was such a cool, intense end, and you just ruined it. We'll learn more about SK's win in just a minute as Laure checks in with Jenax. I hate you so much.
I gotta stack the vote.
I don't really consider it gear. It's an extension of who I am. It blurs the line between fantasy and reality. Sometimes, I can't tell myself from my machine. I think that's by design.
Welcome back to the LEC SKR on a 3-game winning streak right now, and I have Jenax with me to talk about this victory. Hi, Jenax. You played your first Aatrox this year in the LEC. You got the player of the game. Congratulations. It all came down to your engages, I felt so, in the end of the game. So tell me about your role here and how clutch you were in those engages in late game.
I mean, yeah, the game, just start from the beginning, like the game didn't really go as planned. I mean, it did, but then we couldn't really get the lead we wanted to in mid game. And then, luckily, I'm kind of an Aatrox main myself. So when I play Aatrox and it comes to late game, I kind of carry the team fight. So yeah.
Yeah, you have the cosplay, you have the weapon. Of course, you are Aatrox in the end. But you were telling me about the slip-ups in the early game, that things did go wrong. Can you give me more details about this? Because the analyst desk is going to talk about your game afterwards.
I mean, it was basically that we had two pushing sides, and mid prio was kind of contested, so we wanted to move our sides into mids to get prio, but we didn't really get anything done besides getting like a small vision. Like we didn't even get deep vision, so the game kind of stagnated. And then we just misplayed Drake fights. We were too late, or we just mechanically misplayed them.
All right, so you're aware of the mistakes, so hopefully next time this is something that won't happen. I have a last question for you. The analyst desk is going to be talking a lot about the bot lanes. The cast also pointed out that bot lanes were very crucial here. A misstep from either Jezu or Kobbe could cost the game. What did you think about your bot lane today and the importance they have, especially in mid-game?
I mean, yeah, it was really important that we used the pressure from bot lane to move to get vision right. I think, funnily enough, a misstep of Jezu kinda won the game at like enemy blue the fight. When he got caught, the enemies got baited into a 3-man Jarvan combo into Aatrox combo. So I think, yeah, the bot lanes were really important in that sense for sure.
Inting for the bait, but yeah, nice performance from SK overall. And Jenax, thank you so much for the interview. Great weapon, great performance on Aatrox today, and good luck for the rest of the games next week.
Yeah, thank you very much. Welcome.
You're welcome. And back to you, Sjokz.
We're going to be back to Sjokz in just a moment, but for now it's me, Drakos, and Sheepy. Sjokz is also here. Not sure if you can hear that at home. We're going to be breaking down that final play. As you heard, the tactical inting coming in from Jezu, ever so perfectly timed to help his team win the final team fight. Now, there's a few key moments that we need to look at in this team fight that ultimately ended up deciding this game in the favor of SK. Sheepy's going to help me break them down. And as we get a chance to look at this replay, it's important to note that this was very much a Misfits favored game. At any moment, it probably could have turned around. They had the Tristana, they had the range, they had the ability, as you saw many times in the mid to late game, to one-shot the Kalista. But as we take a look at this clip, there's a couple key moments that really matter. Now, initially, Sheepy, when we watched this, we were like, oh man, Jarvan ult, this has got to be big. But it didn't do too much.
Yeah, this ultimate just sets up the fight, puts that Misfits, walks around. HiRit uses his combo on Aatrox, is zoned out. At this point, they're going in. And just what we, barely are seeing here at the end is, maybe you can go back a little bit. It's fine. What we saw there is that Lillia flashed in instantly, does his 3-man sleep. Jarvan comes in with the Kalista ultimate, gets the triple knock-up. Then afterwards, Jenax sees this, it's just, okay, abandon everything else. We're gonna go on backline, we're going hard. And HiRit doesn't have anything at this point left anymore. So the entire backline is open. They just all, go on top of them and kill them. And meanwhile...
And remember, the important points we want you to watch right now are right here, where you can see this is the bait that Jenax was talking about in the interview, where his AD carry does absolutely get one shot. But more importantly, the immediate stun into the follow-up CC that you mentioned as well, Sheepy. And at the end of the day, it won't surprise you if you're just joining us. Yeah, this guy's the big deal. Again, European fans, no stranger to what an Aatrox can do in a mid to late game team fight.
And the cool thing here is that Kobbe is now one-shotting the Kalista just with the 3 auto attacks. And the Aatrox is going in, kind of Kobbe gets baited in, and so yeah, they're gonna kill all. And by the way, the Kalista just says goodbye, instantly dies, and it was not even Syndra ultimate because the Syndra ultimate was blocked by the Lillia ult. So honestly, what an amazing team performance by SK. Every single player in this team fight just carried. Everyone did their job perfectly. It was really beautiful, really.
An absolute pleasure to watch, of course, but the game, as much as it ended up being the Jenax show, certainly did not start that way. So we have to shift our attention back to the early game to talk a little bit more about what happened elsewhere on the map.
Yeah, we're going to go a bit backwards and start with the picks and the bans, and then also what happened in the early game, which was a completely different story. So we had a big focus on the bot lane coming into this draft and coming into this game. And again, we see that pesky Jarvan popping up. Now, I know earlier you said you saw a Kalista Jarvan combo. I believe it was from XL, and you didn't like it at all. What was different about this and what they were matched up against?
I mean, in this case, you have a Syndra that you can assassinate easily. Also, I think they're playing just way better. In the early game, we saw the struggle, and I think that overall as a team, they just played around it 10 times better. Because in the early game, they're falling behind, but then the team knows, especially the jungler knows, we need to get this matchup ahead, and they played around it. So, you know, well done.
Let's take a look at some of those replays. Dives and dives and dives in the bot lane, and it was just crazy town down there, dude.
And it was incredibly individually from so many different members on both teams, but SK starting this off so very cleanly.
Yeah, Jezu started hitting level 6, 2 levels up on Kobbe. They go in for the dive. Jarvan tanks in the beginning. They press the ulti. Lillia dives it up. And now look at the flash from Jezu over the Gragas. Absolutely beautiful stuff. They kite towards the left, VandeR, amazing stun, and then afterwards they just kind of clean house. HiRit, honestly, shout out to this guy, because he TPs towards the bot side, gets a double kill, and gets the revenge kill. Next replay, VandeR goes in, misses everything. He misses the W and the ultimate. Treatz, highlight player for me in this entire game. Beautiful, and then in the end, Razork dies, Treatz almost dying towards the ignite, and then the stopwatch, clutch as hell.
And at the end of the day, you can see how confident, in general, the SK bottom lane, especially shout out to Treatz, his KDA definitely hurting after a game like that, but I still think overall very much MVP quality performance coming in from him. Jenax, though, still rightfully deserved. But when we look back at this, Misfits bottom lane, or rather, SK bottom lane, they started rough. Instantly, the jungle comes in to bail them out. They snowball it so well. But surprisingly, and this is what blew my mind, because I didn't expect this from Misfits, the Misfits top side did so much work in this game to bring it back, because this should have been unwinnable after that early game.
Yeah, Razork and HiRit really trying their best not to lose this game.
Yeah, this was one of the games where I think both top laners just played so well, and one just was better. Because generally you have like this top laner carries and the other one is just absolute garbage. In this case, like both of them just did their job. I think HiRit the TP bot side, then afterwards they get the Rift out, First Blood Tower. Razork goes around the map, actually gets the team back, so you know, I was really happy about this.
And I mean, we try and guess what games are going to give us nice content and make post-games around of post-game analysis. I did not expect that this one was going to pan out as it did. Because yes, there were a couple of misplays here and there, but two teams fighting so incredibly hard in those minuscule micro positions to get the win. It was beautiful to watch.
And remember, it's really easy when you look at this game to compare it to another game where we saw the exact same bot lane from SK, which was against Mad Lions.
Yeah.
And they choked Mad Lions out of that game. That game was unplayable for Mad. So what we saw here from Misfits, the fact that they didn't just, oh, the second the Kalista has 4 kills, the game is over. No, the fact that the entire team came together, again, to put so much gold into Kobbe's pocket, to minimize his deficit, to punish the Lillia for ganking bottom by snowballing jungle, that's a very good look for Misfits. Now, this loss is for sure heartbreaking, and it's as good as it is to see the SK continuing to succeed, to see SK be more than a team that's just about their bottom lane. For Misfits, there is a lot of potential here. I just want to see it come together for once.
I really hope that we don't end up with them falling out of playoffs and seeing this games where you know that there is missed potential, because unfortunately, that's just how the cookie crumbles, right? You gotta win those games. Ooh, so much excitement. After the break, even more excitement and more League of Legends. Rogue versus Vitality.